Hello guys, good day and welcome back to my channel. Today is 1st of September 2023 and it's a beginning of a new month. Therefore, I decided to work on this video so that my viewers can my viewers who are Forex traders can actually get an insight of how to trade the Forex news. So if you are new on the channel, kindly like. It doesn't take anything to like my video, and kindly subscribe, and then make sure you turn on the notification bell so that you will be updated whenever I upload a new content. Yes, so don't forget to do that before I take you right into what I want you to know today. All right, so welcome back once again. As a Forex trader, okay, one of the things you want to do early in the morning, or even the previous night when you wake up from bed, the previous night before you go to bed, or early in the morning when you wake up from bed before you go to the charts, the first thing any Forex trader would do is to go check it out, what is happening or what news is happening in the market, or what news that is going to impact the Forex markets today. Okay, because there is this saying that fundamentals moves the market, and it is very, very true. Okay, so you'd first of all go and check it out, what news is going to affect the kind of currency pairs that you are going to trade. So the website that you are supposed to use, I'll put it in the description, but anyway, at this forexfactory.com, www.forexfactory.com. That is where you'll find all the news that are upcoming, okay, all the economic news that would impact the market or would impact the currency you are going to trade. All right, so this is the interface of the forexfactory.com. Don't be bothered about what you are seeing here. I'm going to explain things and break things down for you to understand. Okay, all right, so there are a few things I would want you to know. I want you to take note of before we dive into what you are supposed to know. All right, so you'd see, okay, let me take you through the platform interface first. Okay, so first of all, this is the page. Okay, this is the Forex Factory page. If you are new to it, first of all, there are sections. Okay, so we'll have dates. Okay, so the date runs through from here. Downward. So you could see this was Sunday, August 27th, Monday, August 28th. So you see all the news that will be upcoming on that day. Okay, will be seen here, or that came on that day will be displayed here. Then we have Tuesday, August 29th. You come to Wednesday, August 30th. Then we have Thursday, August 31st, and then we have Friday, 1st September. So depending on the date, you would see the various dates and then the various news that will be upcoming. Now the next thing you would see is the time. You would also see the time that the various news will be dropping. The time will be at this section. So you look at the time and then you look at the news that will be coming, the name of the news, and then the currency that the news will be impacting. Okay, so we have the time, we have the currency that runs throughout, we have the old GBP, euro. Yeah, so the currency will be listed in this vertical column. Okay, yes, and then we have impact. Okay, we have impact. So you see these folders, the color of the folder actually tells you the impact of the news, whether it's going to be a high impact news, whether it's going to be a low impact news, or a medium impact news. Okay, all right, so let me just show you or explain the color codes to you. The color code. So if you see the impact to be red, here, it means a high impact news, or it is expected to impact that kind of currency market very high. Then if you see it to be slightly brownish yellow, okay, this color, how you interpret it is up to you, but I see it to be brownish kind of style, brownish yellow kind of style. Yes, so if you see it to be this color, it means it's a medium impact. Okay, it's expected to have a medium impact on the market or on that currency. Then we have, if it's completely yellow, okay, as you are seeing, then it's a low impact news that is expected. Then if you see it to be gray, okay, non-economic, it doesn't have any impact on that economic or that currency. Okay, so that is it. And then we also have the numbers. In fact, you need to take your time to go through this. It is just on the page. If you see, if the number that comes is green, okay, it's better than forecast, or revised better, it's better than forecast if the number is green. I think you don't even need to take note of the colors of the numbers. What is important is the interpretation, okay? But you can equally come to this section below the screen, and then you come and look at the color codes of the numbers and what it means. But what it actually means is the impact, okay, and then the interpretation, which I am going to take you through, or I'm going to explain it to you. All right, so we have currency, we have the impact, and then we have details. If you want to look at the details of the news, when you click on any of the folder relating to that particular news, when you click the folder relating to the particular news, it will actually give you the details of the news. And then we also have actual. Okay, the actual is the expected values that is expected to come from the news. That's the expected value that will be coming from the news. And then we also have forecast. Forecast is the prediction. Okay, so it is predicted that this is the value that will be coming. Okay, yes, we have actual value that will come, and this is the predicted value, which is the forecast. And then we have the previous. The previous actually tells you the values that came out of that previous news, and each news has a time interval that comes, whether quarterly, monthly, weekly, year. So you are going to know all of that through the detail of the news. All right, through the details of the news. So first of all, we know how to check the date. We know the time the news will be coming. We know the currency that it will be impacting, and we'll know whether it's going to be a high, medium, a low, yes, impact news. Okay, and we also have the description of the news. The kind of news that is coming is also displayed here. And then we'll come here, we'll have the details of the news, which will be found in the various folders. We have the actual, we have the forecast, we have the previous. So these are things that you need to take note of. In fact, you need not to understand the news. Okay, what you need to understand is the interpretation, which I am going to take you through shortly. Okay, so we are going to pick one news, and then we would look at what will be coming. Okay, so I'm going to take a previous news, for example, then we'll go and look at a future news, or a news that hasn't occurred, and we'll use that to make what comparisons. All right, so first of all, let me pick this news that occurred on the this news is a high impact news. Okay, that occurred on Tuesday, August 29th at what 1 p.m. depending on your time, at 1 p.m. and then it's the USD. The news was on the USD, and you could see that the color code is showing red, which means it's a high impact news. And this is the name of the news, that is S&P, okay, CS Composite 20 HPI, and you could see Y over Y means it comes it means year over year. Okay, year over year. Good. Now let's look at the details of the news. Let's look at the details of the news. So when you click on the folder, the details of the news should open. Okay, so you see the source, you see measures, you see usual effect, you see frequency, next release. Now there are three things you need to take note here. You should be looking at the usual effects. That's the most important thing here, the usual effect. And the frequency. The frequency shows whether the news is being released on a monthly, or the days at which, or the time interval at which the news are being released. So the frequency tells you this is released monthly, about 60 days after the month ends. So this released monthly, meaning that this kind of news, okay, is released on a monthly basis. This is one of the things you should take note of. Then it is actually going to give you the next release, the date that the next release of that news will be coming. So you would want to document that down. Okay, the frequency too, you want to take note of that. And the most important thing here is the usual effect. So the usual effect, this is what you must take note of. If the actual is greater than the forecast, remember I told you about actual, which will be the values that will be coming out of the news, and then the forecast is the predicted value. Okay, so if the value that will be coming from the news is greater than the forecast or the predicted value, it is good for the currency. Okay, actual greater than forecast is good for the currency. So you need to take note of. There are some you would see if actual is less than the forecast is good for the currency. But if the actual greater than currency is if the actual is greater than the forecast is good for the currency, it means the opposite is true. That means if the actual is less than the forecast or the predicted value, it means it is not good for the currency. So you need to take note of that. Then you see the history, history of the same news that occurred in previous months. You see the actual forecast and the previous. So you can actually look at the previous dates, what happened, and then you can see if it follows a trend. You can find a trend here and actually predict what will be coming out of the news. Okay, you could see the actual was negative 1.7%, and then the forecast, the forecast is what? Negative 2.3%, meaning negative 1.7% is greater than negative 2.3%. Okay, so it means that the actual was greater than the forecast, which means it is good for the currency, because that is the usual effect that the interpretation is given. If the actual is greater than the forecast, is good for the currency. So this is a news on the USD. So here you could see the actual greater than the forecast, which is good for the USD. So if you are trading all USD pairs, then you want to if the USD pair is if the USD is the quote currency, is the base currency in the currency pair you are trading, then you'd want to buy all those currencies. Okay, you'd want to buy all those currencies. If the USD is the quote currency or the second currency in the currency pair you are trading, then you'd want to sell that pair, because the actual is greater than the forecast, which is good for the USD or is good for that currency. Okay, then you have the previous month, so you can actually look at this. And another thing is the margin. You look at the difference between the actual and the forecast. If the margin or if the difference is greater, it means it's going to have a high effect or a higher impact on the market. That is one of the things you should take note of. Okay, so I think I have done justice to this. Let's move on to a different one. Okay, so for this news that we were looking at, that's the S&P. You could actually see that the actual value that came was -2 or -1.2%, and then the predicted or the forecast was -1.5%, which that -1.2% is greater than -1.5, which means that it is good for the USD currency. So if you are trading the USD pairs, if the USD is the first currency pair, you'd want to buy, and if the USD is the second in the currency pair, you want to sell those currencies. That is what you must take note of. Okay, so this is how to read the news. You actually look at the time, you come and then you check the forecast, and then if the news drop, you check the predicted value, and then quickly you should also know the interpretation, whether actual is greater than forecast is good for the currency or is bad for the currency, and then you are good to go. All right, so don't forget to leave your comment in the description as well. If you have any question, you can leave them in the description. Now let's move on to the next thing. Today is Friday, 1st of September. It means that we have so many news coming up, which we are expecting. Okay, so I want to take one of the news. Okay, this is Friday, 1st of September. There will be a news happening on the let me use a different currency. I use the USD. This is the Canadian dollar or the CAD. Okay, at exactly 12:30 p.m. there will be a news what happening on the CAD, and then the name of the news is GDP. Okay, we know what GDP means, and M over M means monthly over monthly. Then the next thing we want to look at is the details of the news. But first of all, let's look at the forecast. That's the predicted what the forecast is the predicted value, which is negative 0.2%, and this is the previous one that came. The previous one that came was 0.3. Okay, now we are waiting for the actual to drop. Okay, we are waiting for the actual to drop here at exactly 12:30. So it means that around 25 we should be looking at the news. We should be expecting the drop of the actual value. We compare that, and then we can quickly go to the chart and then trade. Okay, so let's look at the details of the news. That's the CAD GDP. We'll click on the folder and then it opens. Okay, now let's look at some interpretation here. Okay, most of the things here are not really necessary. What you want to look at is the usual effect and the frequency, and then the next release. Okay, so the usual effect is that if the actual is greater than the forecast, is good for the currency. So if the actual value that will be coming out of the news is greater than the forecast, which is the predicted value, it means that it will be good for the Canadian dollar, or it will be good for the CAD, and you would want to either buy or sell depending on its position on the currency pair. Okay, so you see these are history, you can compare. Okay, in July it was 0.3, in June it was 0.0, in May it was 0.0, in April it was 0.1, in March it was 0.5. Okay, yes, so you look at the actual and then the forecast, you can find some trend. Okay, you can look at the margin, the difference, you can look at whether it will, do all these things what counts. Okay, good. So you are looking at the main thing, which is actual greater than forecast is good for currency. Then you quickly go and trade when the actual value drops. Then if you want to trade the same news, you look at the next release. Okay, the next release, which will be in the next month, or depending on the frequency of the news, this is released on monthly basis. Okay, 60 days after the month ends. So you want to trade the same news. Okay, and whenever you are doing this, it is important that you document what happens. Okay, you realize some of the news will have a very high impact on the market. It will move the market. The market sentiment will be very high. You take note of all of these things, because when you document them down, the next time you would want to trade that kind of news, you will know the details of that news, whether it moves the markets very fast, whether it is slow or has high, medium or low impact on the market. These are some of the things you would want to be looking at. Okay, so I would want you to leave your comments. I don't want to take much of your time. I want you to leave your questions and your comment in the comment section, and I will attend to you. And if this video was very informative, I would want you to leave me a thumbs up by liking my video. You can also share with your colleagues or your team, those that are learning forex trading. So this are some of the things you would want to look at first thing in the morning before you even move to your charts. Okay, you want to know the news that are upcoming before you move to the chart to trade whichever currency pair you would want to trade. Thank you so much for your audience, and I hope to see you in my next video. Have a good time and enjoy the day.